Okay, so my grandfather moved here in the 40s. He had a gas station, was a truck driver in the 40s and 30s, which, you know, that couldn't have been a fun job. But for some reason, he wanted to come here and go fishing. Both of his sons, Ed and Rick was my father. Ed went fishing on the Bernice. There's pictures of it and videos of it here. Then my father bought the Bernice for my grandfather after Ed bought another boat. He did the Cape Omni and then he owned the Blue Pacific, or had the Blue Pacific built. So my dad was a commercial fisherman. And then in the 60s, we had a fish processing building, Schnaubelt Fisheries, across the river where Kaido's is now. Then at one point in the early 70s, I think about 74, the Palladini's across the street, which is now Princess, went up for auction. So my dad and my uncle bought that, so then they got their own building over here. They weren't renting from Kaido's anymore. So we did fish processing, fish market, fish and chips, all that lovely fishy stuff, and fish fertilizer at that time. At that time, Princess Seafood was actually where we made fish fertilizer, and all the boilers were in there. So we'd grind up the fish and we'd put it in the fish tanks and turn it into fish fertilizer inside of there. So that was all sorts of fun. I mean, it was actually kind of cool as a kid. I worked in the did fish and chips, and then I did maintenance in the building, get shocked a lot, made compost with my father and all that kind of stuff, which was a joy. I mean, you get a tractor stuck in fish compost and it's really gross. Then at one point we had fish fertilizer at another building, and then that building burnt down, and then we traded over across the street for the property where CPAL is in the 90s, about 94. So we got out of that big mess of a business and just had a little property, and it was cool. Didn't make a ton of money until I started CPAL, but it was cool. Yeah, and then let's see, on my mom's side of the family, we've been in the fishing industry since the 20s, since they moved here from Portugal. So they're just always fish. I mean, my grandmother filleted fish across the street before my father owned it. My mom filleted fish. They were in the business of, whole lives. All the Figueiredos and everybody, they were the kings. They moved here from Portugal without any money, got left off the boat with, a couple dollars and ended up owning half of the harbor and everything in town. The American dream was actually legit back then. So yeah, my family's been in the fishing for a long time. Sadly, I was a commercial fisherman for a while. I ran boats for a while, and it's just, I don't really like it like some people. Some of them did. My dad didn't really like it either. I don't want to smell like fish anymore. I'd rather smell like liquor. Even though I really don't drink a whole bunch anymore, I'd rather smell like liquor than fish. You can't get that smell off you. So I'm really, really grateful when I walk in here and I smell an absinthe going or a good batch of rum or some sort of experiment we're doing. Like the smell of fermenting Coca-Cola. It's a weird smell, and you get to distinguish it, and it's nice and ripe in here. The whole harbor will smell like fish, but I get to smell like alcohol, and I really enjoy that.